All right, so Chapter 6 looks at middle childhood, and so this is school-age children, age 6 to 12. We're going to look at the physical and cognitive development. Let's start with physical. So school-age children, what you're going to see is that their body growth is going to slow down in comparison to infancy and early childhood. They're going to gain about 8 pounds and 2 to 3 inches a year. You see that girls and boys during this time are about the same until right before they have their growth spurt with puberty, their prepubescent growth spurt. Now, when they do have that growth spurt, you're going to see that girls are going to have that first. They're going to enter puberty first, and they're going to be bigger than boys for a while during this, probably around, like, say, 11, 12 years old. You're going to start seeing that girls are going to start towering over the boys, and they're going to be bigger, and they're going to be more developed for a while until boys start entering into puberty. Girls are going to retain more fat, generally speaking, and boys more muscle. You also see that African American children, overall, they tend to grow faster, as well as they tend to enter puberty earlier. Different theories for that. School-age children are going to need about 2,400 calories a day. Breakfast is super important. It should be about 25% of the calories for the day. And school-age children, they need 10 hours of sleep. So age 9, they still should be getting about 10 hours of sleep a night. A lot of kids this age are not, because life has gotten to be so busy, but they do developmentally need that amount. So motor development. During school-age children, you tend to see their strength and athletic skills improve. In terms of play, boys tend to play games that are more physical, whereas girls tend to engage in more verbal type activities. Girls tend to do better at fine motor skills. They have better handwriting, things of that sort, whereas boys tend to have the advantage on other gross motor skills. They tend to engage in more rough and tumble type play. So physical education is really important. But what we're seeing is that fewer than half of school-age children that are tested for fitness actually meet the standards that are set for them. This is a time when kids are introduced to competitive sports, and it's important that that kids that are engaging in sports, that their coaches aren't focusing so much on winning at this stage, but more on building skills, social skills, helping with self-esteem, things of that sort. During middle childhood, it's a pretty healthy stage of life. It's actually the time during the lifespan with the lowest death rate. The leading cause of death during this time is accidental injuries, car accidents, bike accidents, things of that sort. Wearing helmets has significantly decreased the amount of accidental deaths as a result of biking. So we're seeing a problem with diabetes and obesity. These are some health concerns for school-age children. Obesity is influenced not only by genetics, so kids with overweight parents are more likely to be overweight themselves, but also there are environmental factors. Kids that are not getting enough exercise, are not maybe playing sports, watching too much TV and things of that sort, are more likely to be obese. Body image becomes an issue, more of an issue during this stage of life, especially for girls. There's a video up here that you should watch about gross motor skills in middle childhood, and some videos here about body image and how it can impact girls and boys. And also a video about Barbie. Is Barbie a role model, or is Barbie more of this cultural ideal of beauty that can have a negative effect on little girls' self-esteem and body image? So watch those videos. All right, in middle childhood, cognitive development will move into the concrete operational, and then in adolescence more towards the formal operational. So smart people cook fish. So sensory motor was infant, smart people preoperative, preschoolers, and then you have for school-age children, school-age child, it's concrete. A lot of cognitive advances happening in for school-age children. You're seeing the brain structure and function changing, greater speed and efficiency of the brain, and that having to do with pruning of unused dendrites, increased white matter. So watch this video that will explain all these different changes a little bit more. So concrete operational, what's happening? A lot of C's, okay? So school-age child, finally they can conserve, so you can't mess with them anymore with the no-bake cookies and just cutting one in half and going, ooh, look, you have two. So they're thinking more logically, they're less egocentric, they understand causation, so they're going to have less of that transduction, the errors of transduction of thinking that two things are connected when they really aren't. They're going to be able to categorize, so a lot of C words. So watch this video and then read through all these cognitive advances that happen with concrete operational children. A limitation of concrete operational children is that, yes, they're thinking more logically, but they're limited to the here and now type thinking. They're not as abstract. When you move into the formal operational, so getting more into the teen years, age 11 to adulthood, you're starting to see that kids and those in adults that are in formal operational, they can think more abstract. They can think hypothetically. They can reason more abstractly. They can solve problems. So watch this video that will show the difference between concrete and formal operational, the answers to the if you didn't have a thumb. School-age children have advances in how they process information, so how they are learning, how they are remembering. And these improvements are a result of neurological maturing. So you start seeing improvements in reaction time, processing speed, working memory, things of that sort. So with the selective attention, they have increased ability to really focus on certain things that are important and be able to shut out different distractions. And metamemory, which means that they can think about how they can remember things better. So they start using rehearsal, which is like repeating, organization, elaboration. Examples of elaboration is like mnemonics, things of that sort. So watch this video that will look at that. All right, so psychometric approach to cognitive development. So how can we measure cognitive development? So IQ tests are used as a way to assess intelligence. Some different criticisms of IQ tests is that they are fairly good, but not excellent predictors of school success. Another criticism is that they can be unfair to poor or slow test takers. IQ tests really just look at intelligence that is related to what they can learn in school and within their culture. All right, it doesn't really look at maybe innate abilities like creativity, things of that sort. There are other tests that can be used to look at that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But IQ tests equate intelligence with speed, and they penalize a child who is maybe a slow test taker. So other criticisms of IQ tests is that there seems to be some biases built into IQ tests, racial biases, socioeconomic status, things of that sort. So please read through all this to learn a little bit more about the criticisms of IQ tests. All right, so talking about the biases of IQ tests, stereotype threat is thought to maybe account for the poor performance of minorities on standardized testing. Watch this video. It'll describe stereotype threat and how it impacts scores for standardized tests like SAT, IQ, things of that sort. So watch that video. Let's look at the different types of intelligence tests. So Binet and Simon were the first to develop an intelligence test, and they developed it as a way to determine which kids needed some special instruction. Then we've seen the intelligence test change throughout the years, so read through that. The test that is used most often today is the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children. This is a test that there are all sorts of different scales that can be used for the different ages. So this is one that is used most often today. The Gardner tests are those that look at a whole bunch of different types of intelligence. So not just, say, linguistic or math intelligence, but it looks at creativity and things of that sort. When we do activities next class, you're going to take some tests that are going to look at the different types of intelligence you have. So not just analytical type stuff, but creativity and things of that sort. Sternberg has a triarchic theory of intelligence, so looks at book smarts, art smart, so creativity, as well as street smart. So read through that all so that you understand those different types of intelligence tests. So let's talk about academics. Reading skills, different ways to approach reading. You can do the whole word or whole language type programs where children learn to recognize a whole word and memorize those and be able to identify them, or more of the phonetic type sounding out words. So different approaches. So read through this. Math skills. By kindergarten, children have mastered counting. Remember, by age 5, they should be able to count to 20. Now, by age 6 and 7, many children can count in their head. They can add before they subtract. And they become better at solving story problems and better able to estimate. So as they move more into concrete operational, they're better able to think logically and such. So influences on school achievement. You have your parents play a big role. Parents that are involved in their schooling, you tend to see kids do much better. Parents can get kids to have this intrinsic motivation for learning, this internal desire to learn by playing games, making learning fun, going on museum visits, reading, things of that sort. So making learning fun. Socioeconomic status has an impact on school achievement, so read through these different things, the school climate, things of that sort, the teacher. So read through those. The TED Talk is going to look at how schools are can impact a child's desire to learn, and how we should be stressing creativity and things of that sort more. So that'll be talked about in the TED Talk. How are U.S. kids doing in comparison to students in other countries? Not so hot. Students in the U.S. have lower scores than students in other nations. You see that the very best U.S. students only perform at level of the average students in Asian countries like Singapore and Korea. So we need to figure out what the other countries are doing, the other successful countries are doing, and we need to start replicating some of that because we're not doing so hot. So let's look at special needs. So children with intellectual disabilities used to be called children that had mental retardation. We don't use that term anymore. We say intellectual disabilities. These are children that have problems adapting to their environment and have an IQ score of less than 70. You see this more with boys, and really we're not 100% sure what the cause is. It could be a number of different factors. Children that have intellectual disabilities can benefit from elementary education. So a difference between intellectual disability and learning disabilities is that a child with learning disabilities can have normal intelligence, but they might have difficulty with learning how they approach acquiring information and remembering it. So dyslexia is an example of a learning disability, and they have trouble with reading and math. ADHD is children that have difficulty with attention and hyperactivity. The symptoms are distractibility, they are impulsive, they have a low tolerance for frustration, and again, overactivity. So 3 to 7% of all school-age children have been diagnosed with ADHD. Boys tend to outnumber girls. Different treatments are stimulants as well as, say, psychosocial skills training. All right. So how should we approach educating kids with disabilities? Well, the laws today in the U.S. require that children be educated in the least restrictive environment. All right, so read through the rest of this and do the highlighting, and that should be good. All right.